Welcome back, everybody, and welcome to Real Estate Unlimited, where we're giving you unlimited information on real estate. And right before we get started, if you haven't already subscribed, go ahead and hit the like button. Go to the YouTube channel, Real Estate Unlimited. We're also on a podcast on every platform. You can look us up. And so without much further ado, let's get started. And today we have a special guest with us today. We have Doctor of Law, Bianca Cole, serving as trilingual paralegal to attorney Bryce and Mayberry. I had to do a ring announcement on that.
Thank you.
Awesome. And so I have a lot of general questions. Bianca, welcome to the show. How are you doing
Thank
today?
you. Doing quite well and super pleased to be here. I'll answer what I can. Obviously, as always, this does not count as legal advice. Please consult an attorney. I am a paralegal still until I pass that bar. But of course, Bryce Mayberry is always at your disposal at 336-989-8971.
Fantastic. And those of you guys tuning in, you are located in High Point, North Carolina. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Awesome. Cool. And so, well, let's just go ahead and start off. You are a little bit about yourself here, Bianca. You're trilingual. What languages do you speak?
So my family is originally from Brazil. So in addition to English, which I'm still kind of working on, I do speak Portuguese, and I also have learned Spanish. So I am pleased to work with the Hispanic community and Latinos in general.
Awesome. And very interesting. And did you grow up in North Carolina or grow up in Brazil?
I did not. Neither of those. I was actually born in New Jersey, and I kind of trickled down until I hit North Carolina. Really enjoyed a lot of aspects of North Carolina, and I just decided to become a fixture.
Oh, great. What part of Jersey? North, south?
Glenridge, New Jersey.
Awesome.
Yeah. So near where all the Brazilians are, essentially.
Totally awesome. Bianca, just curious to know, what encouraged you to go into law?
I worked for corporate for many years. I worked for Remington Firearms. If anyone, didn't know, back in the day, used to be one of the biggest firearms company. I think they've gone bankrupt since, but I'm not quite sure. But I did do FP&A for them, which is corporate financial planning and analysis. I also worked with Pepsi Corporation, with Haynes Brand Corporation, and IBM. Sometimes you learn a lot of things, but you get pigeonholed, and you really just want to kind of raise that ceiling and just challenge yourself, go a little bit further and see what you're capable of doing. And being that I have a certain skill set, I did want to not only help other individuals earn a living doing it, but have a specific niche within the Latino community. So here I am. And I love real estate. I just love real estate. I love transactional law. I aspire to be a professional paper pusher, and I'm proud of it. My employer is pleased with it too, because he likes the litigation part.
That's what's up. Awesome. And as you're into real estate law, how long have you been doing real estate law?
So I've been a paralegal for about 2 years now. I initially trained with attorney Larry Pearman, a great grand man. He is off of West Friendly in Greensboro. That is where I met a lot of colleagues. He taught me huge foundation to the knowledge base that I have today that I was able to bring in to attorney Bryce Mayberry's office.
I actually called Larry Pearman yesterday.
Did you? How is Larry?
well, he was out of the office till Tuesday.
Okay, good. Yeah. He's enjoying himself then.
Yeah. It is, and it's good about a piece of property, which you may be able to help me on this one too. It is about a piece of property, and it's vacant land. On that land is personal property. There is a manufactured home on that land. The person who owns the manufactured home is not the same person who owns the property. So me, as the listing agent, I need to find out how I'm going to list this vacant land that there is a personal property on there, and it's a completely different owner.
Call us, Paul. Talk to Bryce. He will give you next steps.
Okay. Well then,
and you know what? You know what it boils down to? Will title insurance cover that property for the buyer. So they can also indicate what they would like on there as requirements, and we can just put it right into that policy. And as long as they approve it, they've got title insurance, we're good to go. We've got direct contact with attorney's title. That's who we deal with on an ongoing basis.
Okay, good,
Yep.
good. Well, I know what I'll be doing after the show for sure. Okay. Well, cool. I've got a list here to go over of some questions that we can talk about some of these topics. The first one I'd like to go over is the closing process. If
Mhm.
you would be willing to share with us and the viewers out there how, because each attorney works a little bit different, obviously.
Yes.
How does the closing process work? What type of services do you offer for the client?
hmm So the closing process can go a couple of different ways. So essentially, it's a buyer and a seller. We know who both parties are. Not always. I know it sounds crazy, but sometimes we have no idea who's selling the property. Um, Anywho, we can have a cash purchase or we can have a lender purchase. So let's talk about cash purchases first, Paul. So cash is essentially buyer comes and says, I have an agent or I don't, but nonetheless, I want to purchase property with cash that I've saved. Okay, no problem. We make it super easy. We receive wires. They can e-sign their HUDs or their Altos statements is how we use. It's in lieu of a CD. That's usually with a lender, and they'll sign their statement electronically, wire us the funds, and then we, emit proceeds and direct them as needed. The seller does have to come in, sign some documents, or we can email it to them and they just get it signed and notarized in front of a notary, of course. So that is the cash process. Very quick. We accommodate and guarantee your closing date, whatever date that may be. We will get it done that day. We also do title work that same day, which is very important. Title work is going to tell you if there are any liens, judgments, anything that would prevent that property from being marketable or being sold. If there are any decedents, if anyone has passed away, if anyone's inherited property, who are those owners? Who are those beneficiaries? And do they have liens? IRS liens? Are there any county liens? So those things we verify 100% to make sure that the buyer is buying what they actually think they're buying.
Absolutely.
Now, on the flip side, there's also a loan buying process. So that is where a buyer comes to the table, but of course, they don't have all the funds available. So they go through a lender. We communicate directly with the lender. We make sure that we have a closing date set. We've got everything that the lender needs to qualify that loan. It goes through underwriting, and bada bing, bada boom, we're over here signing in blue ink. So we're so excited to get to the closing table because that's when we give the buyer their keys.
Awesome. And I want to go back just so those listeners out there, if you're buying a property cash, you're going to get a HUD statement from the closing attorney.
Right.
If you're buying a property with a loan, you will be getting a CD, a closing disclosure from the attorney's office.
Right.
Right. And the loan office
That
sends
CD
you
will actually come from the lender, and
uh,
the buyer will usually get that 3 days in advance. But we kind of like bounce numbers back and forth to make sure they've got our numbers, we've got theirs, and it comes as part of their package. Yeah.
okay. So the CD comes from the lender to the buyer and
Right.
they get it 3 days in advance before closing.
Exactly.
That is law. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Get 3 days, disclose all of the final amounts and how much is their cash to close. There are some people that are going to still owe a little bit of money. And there are people that, it might cover it 100%, but typically the bank will require about anywhere from 3% to about 20% down for them to qualify for that loan.
Okay. It's good to know.
Yeah.
Now, another question I had is the title insurance and the survey coverages. I've had that also down on my list. If you'd go into a little bit about that. So a deed, the title's in the deed. Is this correct?
The title is the deed. Oh, it's
Okay.
the deed to the property. So just like we have, a title to our vehicle, we also have a deed to our home. That would be the correct relationship between those two.
Right.
So A deed is essentially you've got a grantor and a grantee. The grantor is the one that is granting the property. He's conveying, he's selling, he's giving to the grantee, which is the person that's receiving the property. So now when you sell property, it's a seller and a buyer. But let's say you're an individual and you want to transfer it to a child of yours who's of majority age. You can't own property if you're less than 18. But if you're of majority age, yeah, you can't transfer to your 6-year-old, even though you think he's amazing. Mine's a little cutie, but he can't handle real estate, and the state agrees with me. So yes, you cannot. We get so many times asked, and I'm like, you're so cute. I just want to like squeeze your cheeks. You're just so cute. No, you can't transfer to your kid. No, you can't. So yes, but if they're over 18, it would then be, the person giving it to the other person, usually like a no taxable consideration deal, because you're not really selling it, you're just giving it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Man, and survey coverage. When someone does a survey, they need to turn that in to you as well.
They do. So surveys are great. Before I continue on, I just want you to know that real estate, for all intents and purposes, it's not a sexy area of law. I tell people this all the time. So you got to add a little humor. It's got to be great. You got to enjoy working with it, because I really love real estate because it touches, on different areas of law, and, you've got a little like family law issue. You might have some criminal law. You might have, so it's a state law. So we really enjoy that in our firm here. Bryce touches on all these different areas of law. And so, but real estate itself, it can be a little dry. So we got to liven things up a little bit. So let's talk about surveys.
Yeah.
On that note.
All right.
Yes.
Show me where those property lines are at.
That's it. Yeah.
You don't cross these lines.
Exactly.
Don't
put that shed there. Unless you're buying that strip of land from me. Don't do it. Don't do it. I know you want to block that neighbor and you want to put up that fence, but did you get a survey? No, you didn't. Don't do it. Every attorney will tell you before you put up anything on your property, erect a structure. Put it in writing that you've got a survey. Go get a surveyor. It is usually based, the price, according to the area in which they are surveying. And you really want to get like a good survey. So you've got like your basic surveys just to kind of see the perimeter of your property. You really want to get like an ALTA survey. So ALTA surveys are going to give you detailed information. It's what the lenders require because they want to see if you've got any easements, like utility easements, anybody's using your property to cross over and get to their property. They want to know that. And a survey is going to tell you if anything's encroaching on your property too, or if you're encroaching on somebody else's. What that means is you are, I don't know. Here's your property. Your fence is over here. It's good. It's in your property. Your fence is over here. You got a problem. So,
hold on. You said something that caught my attention. So there's different types of surveys.
There are.
And
yes.
and when will a lender require a survey?
They're going to require a survey. Well, so here's the thing. So when lenders get title coverage, which every lender gets, okay, you're going to get your lender's title coverage and you're going to get your owner's title coverage in every closing. What that means is that the lender now knows that a title search has been performed by a licensed North Carolina attorney. Mm-hmm. And we've, gone through everything. Bryce has looked at all the liens, judgments, made sure that everything is good. And the deed is clean, meaning that there are no outstanding debts against the person that has attached to the property as well. Okay. But the lender's title coverage is actually always comes with survey coverage, which a lot of people don't know. They already have the survey coverage. The elective product would be if you get survey coverage for the owner's title policy. So what you do is you go out, you get your survey, you bring it to the attorney's office before the closing. They tack it on to the to the title coverage that they've already requested with the prelim title
Okay.
opinion. And you'll have title coverage as of the day of closing. Now, you can always add that later, but just remember, you've got to have that survey to tack that on.
Okay.
Right? You got to
Okay.
show a
This is
title
good.
company that you've done a survey and this is what they found.
Fantastic. And I don't know if you've been in this situation before. So, property line, this is my property.
Mm-hmm.
Neighbor has a tree and the branch goes over. What happens?
So I'm going to chuck this to legal question. So Bryce may have to answer this one.
Okay.
I really don't know. If it were my
Yeah.
property, I'd be trimming it.
Okay.
If it's gonna break. If it's pretty, I'll keep it. But if it's not, I'll probably let somebody know that I'll be trimming that before it
Yeah.
affects my property, because the whole goal is to mitigate damages. You want to stop them before they cause something else. But it would be a
Sure.
legal question to see what are the ramifications of you cutting down somebody else's tree. Just like,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then home insurance and at the closing, how important that is.
we require it every time. We don't care if you're paying cash or if you're going through a lender. If you're going through a lender, you definitely need homeowners insurance. So there is case law to that effect. There was case law, I believe, out of Davidson County some time ago where someone went to a closing. It was a cash sale, house burned down, attorney and realtor held accountable. Okay, held accountable for that person's damages because they were not told that they needed homeowners insurance. So, I mean, let's face it, we're trying to protect people here. We do not want you to cancel your policy after closing. I would not cancel my own. I don't care if it's a fix and flip. I don't care if it's a tenant occupied property or if it's my own home. Definitely always going to have homeowners insurance on there to help with any damages that might occur, any acts of God, any wrongful death, any things that could be protected with insurance. What I will say is you can cancel after the closing. That's okay. Nobody can commit you to that. But the day of closing, better have homeowners insurance. Otherwise, we can't close for you. Sorry. Not risking it. Not risking it for some money.
Right. As far as transferring property to family, have you ever dealt with this before?
Oh, we do that all the time. We do that domestically and internationally. Absolutely. So, of course, in the state of North Carolina, this is an attorney protected state. So all of our closings are done through an attorney. You can record your own deed. The state does allow you. I wouldn't recommend it because, we can do a title search for you, even if you're just transferring it to family. Your family member may want to know if you've got any liens or judgments because the moment they go to sell, guess what? It's going to be taken off their proceeds because that's going to be paid first. Okay. When you're transferring property, that really doesn't become an issue because it's no taxable consideration. You're not paying anything. You're not paying any tax stamps. So it really doesn't no radar is going to go off in that regard. But if we're selling property, we most definitely are going to take that off the top. And in North Carolina, even if you're transferring to family, we don't have to do a title search for you. So we would include language to the effect of no title request. No title search performed or requested. So that takes the liability off of us. Now, in North Carolina, it takes 1 to buy, 2 to sell and or transfer. So if you're a mom, okay, you want to transfer it to your over the age of 18 kid. All right. You want to transfer it to them. That's no problem. But if you're married, that person has to convey that property as well because they're essentially giving up that interest that they have in the property. We do it internationally by drafting the deed, sending it by email. That person, we have someone in Switzerland that may be a potential client. So what we're going to do is we're going to email it to this nice lady. She's going to go to her embassy because the embassy, of course, is U.S. territory and you must have your document notarized by a U.S. notary. It can be any state, but if you're overseas, it would be a notary that is recognized by the United States. They go in, make their appointment, get their documents notarized, FedEx it, DHL, UPS it back to us so we can get it and e-record it. We e-record throughout the whole state. We do not charge differently. We can e-record from, I mean, we've done the mountains to the beach and anywhere in between. So we can do it all electronically for you and get it done ASAP.
Is there any counties? That's a lot of information. Is there any counties that you do not cover?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, we've done Caldwell, we've done Stokes, we've done Mecklenburg, we've done Wilson, we've done just a lot of different counties, not just Guilford, where we're specifically located.
Yeah, and those tuning in, North Carolina has 100 counties. So,
Wow.
yeah. So, as far as life estate deeds for the elderly,
Yeah.
what is your experience on that?
I love that you asked me this question because let me tell you, if there's one thing that really burns me up personally, I'm an only child to parents that are, had me at a little bit older age. And it really burns me up when, own children are kind of trying to finagle their way into their parents' assets. Prior to their death. My God, wait a minute. Like, I mean, at least have the decency to wait until they're dead. No, I'm just kidding. But really, so here's what we're gonna do. We try to prevent. Okay, so let me just back up a little bit. There's a reason why real estate is always in writing. Okay, it's something called the statute of frauds, law school 101. Don't take me back to that. Okay,
I remember those days.
so statute of frauds. One of the statute of frauds requires that real estate be in writing, and a lot of states have adopted that. North Carolina is no different. We want everything to be in writing because that is the number one way to defraud someone. It is very easy to defraud people. We see it day in and day out where people are fraudulently taken advantage of through real estate. So, beneficiaries, children that are about to inherit property and all of those things, that's no different. People change when there's things of value involved. And although, Timmy may be awesome, Timmy also may kind of think twice about keeping your real estate before the time comes that you have that a family member has passed away. So here's what we do to protect them. We have mom and dad saying, we want Jimmy, Timmy, whomever, to keep that property. Okay. We want them to have it. He's been great. He's been helping us. We want to, instead of having to worry about that in an estate process and Timmy have to worry about that after we pass away, let's go ahead and give Timmy the property. The caveat is, let's say mom and dad live on the property. What we are going to do to protect mom and dad so that way Timmy doesn't send them off to a home or mom and dad are without a home, right, in their elderly age, we are going to transfer the property to Timmy. But we're going to put mom and dad to hold as grantors a life estate deed. So what is that? That means that although Timmy now owns the property, mom and dad live on the property and have the right to live on the property until they pass away. So what that's going to do is, even though Timmy owns that property, Timmy is not going to be able to easily get a refi on the property, a mortgage on the property, encumber the property in many ways, or sell the property without those life estate holders signing off. So you're basically tying down Timmy until your death. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Sorry. Timmy is not the owner. He's the owner of the property, but he's not the resident of the property with this type of life estate deed.
So he could live on the property as well, but what we're just doing is mom and dad own the property. We're transferring it to Timmy, and although Timmy's the owner, the parents have the right to live on that property until they die.
I see. That's a very good protection. That's a very good protection. And you can get this protection at the law office, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, we will draft that for you. We will make sure that we understand the dynamic of your family prior to doing any of these documents. We even recommend a consultation with the attorney. And, Timmy would not be involved or privy to this conversation. It is confidential. We hold those conversations very, very closely and confidentially because, of course, we just, our clients are protected in that way. We're held to that ethic.
Absolutely. If you had to give one good purpose why to do a title search, what would you say on that?
Oh my gosh. Um, you're trying to buy an asset. You're not trying to buy a liability. You know, buying real estate is one of the biggest investments that anyone is going to make. And we call it an investment because you're hoping to get some money back on that property. If you're buying a house and a title search was done and it was never recognized that there was a federal lien that attaches, super lien, it attaches to all properties, or there's a county lien on the property, that's a huge problem. You're buying liabilities if you don't get that title work done. And let's not forget, county can foreclose on you. Let's say that property is free and clear and you own the county. They are first lien holders on that. They've got dibs. So if they sell that property, they're getting paid first.
When you say you own the county, you're talking about taxes.
So it can be for a wide array of things. So it's not just taxes. If you owe tax and you don't pay, they could foreclose on the property. Um, the other thing is that there are liens that could be placed on the property. So we've got nuisance liens. You didn't mow your grass. There are odors, excessive odors coming from the
Oh,
property. You've got excessive noise, and the county is fining you for those nuisances. You don't pay those, they're going to come after you.
got you. Wow.
And if your
Uh,
property is free and clear, that means you don't owe anybody. That means it is a quick sale, baby. Let's go.
bam, bam, what a bam, and you're done.
You got it.
Uh,
So counties take a while to foreclose. I mean, that's everybody knows that, but it's possible.
yeah.
So
As far as trust verifications go, is there a process that you guys do for that? And
yes.
if you don't mind explaining a little bit about how that works.
Sure. So just generally, trusts can be in many different ways. There are trusts that you can include in a will. Those are called testamentary trusts. But some people like to have trusts prior to to their passing away. So those would be inter vivos trusts, so within your lifetime. So those can be revocable, not revocable. I'm not going to get too much into what those mean. That is more of a legal question, and I would like a licensed attorney to explain those and the ramifications of that, and who would qualify and who would be not qualified, but who would be better suited for those. So I'm not going to get into that too much. But what I would say is, if you have a trust, you have a trustee. That is someone that is entrusted, so redundant, but who is entrusted with carrying out the wishes of that trust. Okay, so if the trust says that Timmy is going to be the trustee and he is going to be able to have the right to sell off the property, the real estate. So Timmy is the one that's going to be the trustee, and he is going to sign off on that deed. He's going to sign off on any movement to that trust account because he's been entrusted with that duty. Okay, to take those actions. And a trust verification is just that. We're going to require a copy of the trust. We're going to require his identification. We want to know that he is the person that is listed on the trust, that the trust has not been revoked, it's still valid. And we're going to go through item by item and make sure that he has the right to do what he's trying to do. Usually, in our case, sell a property. You're on mute again.
Sorry. As far as ITIN loans versus Social Security loans, would you be able to just dab at that a little bit?
Sure, sure. So, for those of you that may not know, ITINs, they are a similar numeric combination, just like a social security number. So we've got that 3 to 4 digit combination. ITINs were originally created for individuals coming from overseas or companies, and that would allow them in lieu of social security number to be able to buy land here, to buy property, to do their work here, but not being a US resident or someone that has been assigned a social security number. Okay. As time has passed, that item, because well, right? More rules, more ways to kind of get around them. You use rules to kind of circumvent other rules, and you kind of use rules against rules. So yeah, or laws against laws. So
Yeah.
what happens with ITINs, they are predominantly used now in in all of the United States as a number for documented or undocumented, but illegal individuals to be able to sometimes file taxes, purchase, sell property, um, sometimes acquire employment. So, yes, go ahead.
I don't mean to cut you off here
Yeah,
because
no, that's
you're,
fine.
you're on a roll. You got a lot of great information for this podcast. Everyone listen out there, watch the rerun if this is just too fast for you. Um, in the United States, you do not have to be, and I repeat, you do not have to be an American citizen to own property in the United States. As long as it's deeded to you and you're paying the taxes, you are good.
Yep.
And
We
so
see it
this
all the
is,
time. We see
yeah,
it all the time. Yep.
I'm sorry. Yeah, so this is why we're covering this ITIN. They're called I-10 numbers versus Social Security loans.
Absolutely. That's a great point that you make. So, so if you don't have a social, you can still not qualify. That's a term, and that may be, I don't know. That I truly do not know. What you need to be able to get an ITIN. I just know that if you don't have a social, there are ways of getting an ITIN. This is all a legal process. It's not like some back alley and who knows where. Okay, this is a government. A government initiative number that they issue. Okay, the U.S. government knows that they're being issued. So, just that being set aside, let's get back to Social Security versus ITIN loans. So, you are a resident or you are a certain visa holder or you are a U.S. citizen, you will have a Social Security number assigned to you. You can be naturalized citizen or you can be a U.S. born citizen as well. So those are two different ways. So you will get a Social Security number assigned to you when you apply for any form of credit, whether it's a mortgage loan, whether it's a refinance loan, whether it's a home equity loan, line of credit, whether it's a credit card, whatever, your number, you applied to go to school, that number is you, it's your barcode. Likewise with an ITIN. However, they treat ITINs generally a little bit differently because the potential for a person that holds an ITIN to be here illegally is extremely high. I'm saying high, high, high. So their risk, whoever's lending you money and using your property as collateral, their risk is much higher. So that interest rate, if let's say, for sake of argument, let's say for a Social Security mortgage loan, it's at 5.5%, which is what I believe I saw lately that it's at. It might be around 8.5% or more for an
Right.
ITIN loan borrower.
Mm-hmm.
But at least it gives people the opportunity to buy a home, which is our right. A lot of people think that, oh no, only Americans have certain rights. No, it's a human right, okay, to be able to buy property. And that is why they are allowed to buy it as well, just through a different loan process.
Absolutely. Now, how are we looking on time? Because we're at 2:23.
We're good. Keep it coming.
Okay. So
We just got
power
a
of
text
attorney.
here from the school, so we're okay for a few more minutes.
Okay, great. Power of attorneys. If you can give a
Everybody
little
needs
bit.
one.
Okay.
Everybody needs
And
one.
what would be a good example using this in real estate?
Yeah. So in real estate, we usually come across three, or not real estate, but just in law in general. Our practice comes across about three different power of attorney. So one is limited. That's basically just saying, I can't show up to closing. Can you have my realtor just sign my CD for me? It is limited because they are not acting as you. They don't have full and overarching powers over their client. If they are representing the buyers, they can only sign that CD for you to be able to deliver to the bank. Okay. They can't sign off on your mortgage and your note. Can't do that. That is still going to be that buyer.
Yeah.
There are another two.
Yeah.
Oh,
I want to hear the other two as well, but I have done the limited power of attorney.
Yep. They've gotten that taken care of, right? Like ahead of time, everything is good. They just can't show up at that particular time. You go, you sign it, you're good to go, right? Yeah.
The other two, have you worked with the other two types of power of attorney?
So we actually draft those. So the other two are going to be your financial power of attorney and your healthcare power of attorney. So those are extremely important. Every single person needs one if they are over the age of 18, because power of attorneys go into effect while oh, you have the amazing Bianca. She's great. Oh,
CC, what is happening? Thank you for tuning in.
CC. can I just record you and just like when I'm feeling blue, just you keep hearing Cece on the side saying you're amazing. Nah, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. So, jokes aside, so we've got your power of attorney that is for financial reasons. You've got your health care. Everybody needs it. All right. Financial power of attorney. Again, it's you are incapacitated either because something tragic has happened and you are, you're in a coma, you are very sick, maybe you've got COVID, maybe it's not that severe, but you're just kind of hanging out at home and you can't leave. You went on vacay, you can't come back, you don't want to come back. I don't blame you.
Mm,
You have someone that you trust 100%. Let's say, I go on vacation. I say, Paul, listen, I'm going to appoint you as my agent. So if anything were to happen, you're going to be able to do anything financial for me. So what is Paul going to be able to do? Our standard document is going to give him the right to buy and sell stocks for me. They better be Tesla, my man, because they're doing pretty good. Okay, he can buy and sell stocks. He can buy property and sell my property. He can cash my checks. It's a lot, and there are other things there. Oh, Cece. And there are other things that he can do for me, but just keep in mind that these are overarching powers. You are giving them full-fledged powers over everything financial in your life as if they're acting as you. So when you go to select somebody, make sure you trust them. And of course, we can always take out a clause, we can add a clause, we can modify clauses if that's what you want. So you don't have to give everybody full power, but most people do. So the
gotcha.
second one is you're appointing an agent for your healthcare matters. So let's say leaving the office today, I get into a car wreck, and I'm going to need some like life-saving surgery of sorts. Okay, it's like that do or die kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to sign for me to get that surgery? I obviously am very much incapacitated. I cannot sign for myself. That document comes into effect and it's going to say, I've selected Paul here to sign off on me should anything happen. Even if you're married, that may, yeah, ooh, the power is in my hands. What would you do with me, Paul? Now I'm concerned. This is a
Stop.
point of concern. I'm just
It's all business. It's all business. Ha ha ha.
exactly. So so these are very they're really good powers, but again, overarching, they are very they're extensive powers that you're giving people. So these are people that you're really going to trust. Keep in mind, a lot of people don't know this. You can appoint one person, you can appoint two people to act together, or you could do alternate. So if this person gets there first, let them sign off. If this person gets there first, even though they're listed second, let them go. So we can have ands or ors.
Very interesting.
Especially with the financial, most people like to put two people there just for like an accountability issue. So even though Timmy is really great with money, we just want, Jimmy to be there too. So Timmy and Jimmy are going to be there and they're going to kind of offset each other and keep themselves accountable. So there's no, wrong,
Right.
fraud or anything that shouldn't be happening happens. So.
Always good to have an extra pair of eyes on this.
Oh, can I make just one little note on
Yeah.
power of attorneys?
Yeah.
As long as you're okay, that power of attorney is not in effect unless you tell the person it's now in effect. So we would require something in writing. We would require someone, I mean, obviously, if they're able to. If they're just overseas on vacay and they overstay their visit and they can't come back in time for closing, we would ask that to be in writing. We have the power of it. We have the copy of the power of attorney. But really, if the person is incapacitated, it goes into effect. If you're okay, everything is good. It's a beautiful Sunday morning and somebody's over there or Monday morning and someone's over there trying to sell my property, that is fraud. So obviously that would not be a proper use of the power of attorney. And that person could be held liable for any criminal, civil, liabilities that may come, claims that may come down the road.
Sure. Good. And then last off here, I got wills. If you want to go over a little bit about wills, people do wills. I know, what is it? You can write out your own will. Can you write out your own will or?
You could, and then you're going to have a consultation with us when someone tells you that you just botched it up. And then here we go, trying to explain to you why you lost your money.
But I wrote it out. Do there need to be witnesses when the will's done?
Yeah. You got to have a slew of things for it to be valid. So, in North Carolina, it's got to be typed out. There are some other elements. You've got to have witnesses. You have to have it notarized. So we meet those. We also mention the statute that applies in order for the will to take effect. So that is something that most attorneys would include in there. We include that the attorney was a draftman of the document in case there are any familial questions after someone's death. Our bread and butter is real estate. That is what we live off of, and we do have other areas of practice. My belief is that you shouldn't charge someone for just having to get a will done all the time when there's a new life event. And although I don't make any executive decisions in this firm, Bryce is also a big believer in that. So when he charges the client for a will to be drafted, we draft that will in a very flexible manner. So that way, it's simple. Most people in this area are going to want simple wills, which just means property is going to go to X. Personal property is going to go to Y, anything else is going to go to Z. That way, every time you buy property, we don't have to go back and redo your will and recharge you, or you don't have to go to another attorney and redo it. We go straight to the point, do what you need to do. If there are any major life events, it's already accounted for in the will. Life event, I'm talking about like if you're a lady that is still within her still able to have children, even actually older women, I always include this clause. It's called the omitted child clause. That's what we learn in law school. So the omitted child clause is essentially let's say you have 2 kids at the moment you draft the document, but upon your death, now you've got 4 kids. And the reason we include it for all women is because keep in mind, we can still have children up until probably about 40, 45 years old. I know plenty of people even older,
I know plenty of people that are much older and they're having children. Yes.
Wouldn't recommend it, especially with my back. Ooh, baby. Okay.
Stop, Bianca.
But what I will say is people can still adopt, right? You can adopt until the moment, you're long, you're gone.
Absolutely.
So you can still adopt. So we always account for these situations and for men as well. So if you happen to adopt children, even in your later years, some grandparents adopt their grandchildren, we account for those things. So let's say you pass away with 4 kids, but only 2 kids are listed in your will. That's okay. If you've said you want it divvied out evenly, it's now going to be divvied out. Your assets are going to be divvied out between 4 people now and not just those 2. So we make it really easy. We get the document drafted in a very flexible manner. By the way, I would like to say that there are 4 documents that you should get in estate planning package. It's going to be your financial power of attorney, your healthcare power of attorney, your last will and testament, and then your living will. Living will is going to say how it's just so your family is not in conflict. Okay. And so that way, listen, DNR, do not resuscitate me. That's my decision while I am able to make my own decisions. I've decided I don't want DNR. That's what we draft. That's what you sign and notarize. And your family now has no qualms about those issues.
Awesome.
Right?
Well, Bianca, thank you for joining us today on the podcast and everyone listening in. If people would like to get a hold of you, what's the best way they can get a hold of you?
Oh, please do. Feel free to call our company's cell phone. You will never get an attorney's cell phone number. You've got ours. It is 336-989-8971. You can contact me directly at my company email at biancacall@triad.rr.com. That's BIANCACOL @triad.rr.com, or the attorney directly at Bryce Mayberry at triad.rr.com. Thank you very much.
And you guys are located where?
We're at 1403 Eastchester Drive, Suite 101, High Point, North Carolina, 27265. But don't forget, it's 2023. And boy, do we do a lot of consultations virtually. The attorney's always available for a phone call, or you can come in and schedule a time to meet with him.
Awesome. You guys, I'm from High Point, North Carolina, furniture capital. But I grew up in Staley, and I'm proud to be from Staley anyway. So well, listen, thank you, Bianca, for coming out, and thank you for joining us and everyone's watching. And so until next time, guys, thank you for joining us, and we will talk later on.